It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook. Hey, I get it. You've worked really hard to build up your business, and it's doing great. So great that you need help now. The most important thing for your business is to hire the right people to support it. So how can you find amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. And with Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, Sponsored Jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. And it's one of the largest databases of job seekers, too, giving business owners access to a wide range of candidates. And one of the things I love most about Indeed is the job alerts feature. I get notified when new candidates apply. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. So we've had a lot of amazing guests here on the show, and some of the most popular episodes are the ones where people are just most closely related to the guest who comes on. And I think a lot of people can relate to the story behind today's guest, which is Phil Lichtenberger, a guy who owns a podcast, brand new podcast, actually. He's a student of mine. His podcast is called Scanner School. Everything you wanted to know about the scanner radio hobby. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, I'm not interested in that topic at all. And you may not be. However, there's a lot of people out there who are, and they're finding his brand new podcast, which is really, 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 really cool. And today, we have a conversation with Phil as he's building his business. He's not super successful yet, but he's getting there. He's on his way, but he's having a lot of fun doing it. But he also has a lot of questions to ask as well. So today, we're going to be talking with Phil, somebody who's just in the thick of it right now, because I know a lot of you are there too. And whether you have a hobby blog, a hobby podcast, a hobby video channel, or maybe you're trying to build a real business, doesn't matter. It's tough. It's difficult. But we're going to get through it together. So sit back, relax. We're going to chat with Phil in just a moment. But first, dude, we got to play the intro music.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later.
And now your host, Frosty the Snowman is his least favorite Christmas song, Pat Flynn. Thumpity thump thump, there goes Pat Flynn now. Thumpity thump. Okay, I'll stop.
Still using a copy-paste website? Break the template trap with Framer. Whether you're overwhelmed by traditional site builders or frustrated with cookie-cutter designs, Framer gives you the freedom to create a site that's professional, polished, and uniquely yours. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. It's free to start, allowing you to browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something on your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, parallax scrolling, scroll animations, looping animations, and much more in seconds. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting, generating starter layouts, and can even translate your entire site to any language. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. With running your own business, legal questions always come with the territory. Like, can I use this contract or agreement? What do I do if a client doesn't pay? Am I even structured the right way for taxes? Instead of Googling your way through legal landmines, imagine having a law firm ready to address your business's legal needs without the sticker shock. That's what you get with Legal Shield's small business plans. Legal Shield helps entrepreneurs access real legal help on contract reviews, collection letters, business formation guidance, and even help navigating IRS audits. Members can schedule consultations, upload documents through the app, and get support from a provider law firm that knows small business laws in your state. Plus, consultations on taxes or trademarks help you stay ahead of potential problems. And if a client is late on a payment, Legal Shield steps in with professional collection letters so you can protect your hard-earned revenue, all for a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer on your own. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today in session 311 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment just to subscribe to the show. We've got a lot of great stuff, not just today, but coming up in the near future. We come out every single Wednesday, and I would love to invite you to come on to just regularly listen to the show. A lot of people have made it a habit to do it, and whether you go back to the beginning and binge listen all the way through, or you just choose to start from this point forward, doesn't matter. I'm stoked that you're here with me. I'm excited to provide value to you on your way to a successful business. My name is Pat Flynn. I'm here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. And today we're talking with Phil Lichenberger, the owner and founder of Scanner School. Scanner radio tutorials, podcasts, and reviews based on a hobby that is now turning into something perhaps a little bit more. And like I said, we're going to talk with Phil in just a moment. But by the way, I know a lot of you who are listening to this, you're like, Pat, you have a student and he's coming on. That's awesome. And I know you have several other students too. We've had students on the show before too, and every time I have a student on the show, everybody's like, how can I get involved with that program? So I'm just going to mention it really, really quickly up front here. This isn't like a super hard pitch because it's actually something that you can get for free. If you want to check it out and learn how to start a podcast in just 3 days, you can learn how to set it up and get it all functioning. All you have to do is go to howtostartapodcast.com. Again, howtostartapodcast.com, completely free. Check it out. I invite you to do that whenever you're ready. So now let's head on over to the interview today with Phil Lichenberger from Scanner School. We'll talk about how he got started, what it was like to go through the course, to get his podcast up and running. He's been consistent ever since he launched his show. I just checked his podcast. He's been consistent every single week, coming out with new stuff. So he's on it. He's already passed, I think, episode 10 now, I think, which is, if you get past episode 7 in your podcast, it's like the magical number. Like, hey, I'm committed to this. I'm going to do it. I'm in the rhythm. All right, here we go. This is Phil Lichenberger from Scanner School podcast and scannerschool.com. Phil, welcome to the SPI podcast. Thank you so much for being here. This is great.
Great. Thanks. It's pleasure's all mine, Pat. I'm a huge, huge fan.
Well, I'm a very, very big fan of you now because not only are you a student of mine for a number of the different courses that I offer, and we'll talk about which ones and why you're getting involved in those in just a minute, but more than that, you are, I can tell, an action taker. You've put in a lot of work already. You've had some success already from what you've been doing, although it's small compared to perhaps some of the other guests that we have on the podcast. You're just starting out in this journey, and we're going to talk about that and kind of the things you're doing to grow and really why you're doing this in the first place. But even before that, I'd love to know a little bit about kind of what is it that you do and how you got there.
All right. So I guess what I do as far as the online stuff, I'm what you call a scanner radio buff or whatever. I enjoy the hobby of scanning or scanner radio.
So what makes what makes a radio a scanner radio exactly? I'm a newbie at this, so you can teach all of us.
Yeah, all right, well, you can listen to session 2. No, I'm kidding. What the scanner radio is basically it's a receiver, so you don't have the ability to transmit to anything you pick up. So some things that you can listen to depending where you live, aviation, railroad, police, fire. You can hear what's going on in your neighborhood before the media has a chance to report on it. Okay. So it's as real time as you can get.
This has been a hobby of yours for a while?
For as long as I can remember. I grew up, my dad was in the hobby, so I always grew up with a radio somewhere in the house, at my grandparents' house. I remember hearing it at their house as well. So, so it's been something that I've always been interested in and always had an involvement with.
That's really cool. So do you actually like build these from scratch on your own?
No, I'm not that involved with it. It's they're a little bit more advanced than that now. It used to be many, many years ago you could do stuff like that, but now it's really gotten to the point where commercial grade is the way to go. Although there's parts of the hobby which I plan on going into with my podcast and everything else on how to take off the shelf really cheap receivers and get in for just a couple of bucks and get into the hobby as well. So it doesn't take hundreds of bucks to get into get into my hobby. So that's all part of why I'm here, in your courses and everything else, to kind of teach people how to do that.
I was going to say, so this was a hobby of yours for a while. What exactly kind of triggered you to want to go a little bit further with this and start teaching others how to do the same stuff? Because, a lot of people in the audience, they're just starting out and they also have hobbies too. But a lot of times people just want to keep them as hobbies, or they just don't even know how to do anything further. What triggered you to want to do more?
I kind of fell into it really. About 2005, there was a local website here that was dealing with the local scanning on Long Island, and he kind of fell prey to a hacker a couple of times and just decided to fold up shop, and it left an opening. So I emailed the owner of that website. I said, "Hey, do you mind since you're giving up, do you mind if I kind of take over from here on out?" And he says, "Go ahead, do what you want." Anything I had saved from his site I could use. He was basically just done.
Wow.
And so I started my own website, which is my amateur radio call sign, w2lie.net. Looking back on it, there's 2 mistakes I made with that one. First, I used an amateur radio call sign, which people have a hard time remembering what it is. Mm-hmm. And secondly, I went with a .net, and everybody wants the .com. But, live and learn. Right. But the website did well. I have about 10,000 or so members on it who aren't active. It's kind of, unfortunately, been a back burner project at this point. And what really started it off was, at the time I started this in 2005, nobody was putting their scanner radio audio online to listen to remotely. I mean, now there's smartphone apps LA to do that, but this was all before that happened. So that draw brought a lot of people from the local area to my website. And looking back at it now, you had to sign up for the site in order to get the link to listen. So I didn't really know what I was doing back then, but it turns out that I could have used that to build an email list. But again, that ties into what I'm learning now with your courses. So with the website there and the audience, people started asking me to program their scanners the way that I had mine done so they can listen to it without needing to be in front of a computer. Mm-hmm. So that really kind of opened up the door for my online business, I guess you could say.
Nice.
So going from the hobby of programming then became an S Corp in 2010 where I was selling the radios. And, that was kind of live and learn type of thing as far as getting as a distributor and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then that became, I got tied into another company, and that's really my bread and butter right now. I sell fire pagers, and I have boxes right now that have orders ready to go out. So in 2017, I split up the company to East Coast Pagers, which now sells the fire pagers. I still do the radio programming, and I still do a lot of with the programming comes consulting, and that's really what I enjoy doing is teaching people about the hobby and what I know. And also to back up a bit too, I've been involved with a local ham radio, I guess you'd say forum, where once a year they have at the local college, they have an all-day event where they bring in a couple of experts in their fields, and they talk about for 50 minutes a topic. And I've been doing a scanner radio class there, 2 sessions back to back, an intro and an advanced class for about the last 8 or 9 years. So every time I go in there, it's a packed room, and they keep asking me to come back. So I know the local need is there, as far as being able to teach people. And so just all of that, and knowing that other people are out there have the same exact questions. I want to be able to share what I know, and just give it to other people.
That's really cool. In those rooms that you speak in, like, how many people are there when you're doing that thing?
It's like a typical university classroom. So I guess you'd be about max is at about 50 people or so. 50.
But I mean, still, and the purpose of asking this question for everybody is the fact that this is a seemingly small space, a very niched kind of thing. But there are people out there who are interested in these small niches. And when you are building a business, you don't need to, build something that changes the world. I remember I did an interview once, Phil, on a very popular podcast called Mixergy with Andrew Warner. And what I loved about Andrew is that he asks like grilling questions. But that's also what really scared me about that interview. And one of the first questions he asked me was like, why are you playing around with all these little niche sites and teaching people how to do, build these small businesses? Why aren't you building something big like an Excel or some program that everybody could use? And I said, first of all, I'm helping people, which is the most important thing. And secondly, I may not be doing something that's changing the entire world, but I'm changing somebody's world. And I knew this from my own experience with the lead exam, with the architecture stuff that I did when I first started out. And you're kind of doing the same thing. So you're in this space, you're becoming an expert, which is great. And now you're coming online to start to teach other people how to do the same thing. So what are some things that you're doing now to help get more exposure and increase your business at this point?
One of the first things I do is I follow you pretty close, Pat. You say you're the crash test dummy, and I take every lesson that you teach and every experience that you've gone through, and I use that basically to help promote what I'm doing. So,
do you have any specific examples of how I've been able to help you?
Well, I've just finished binging on 280 plus episodes in the last 6 months, so it's kind of really a blur. I mean, right now when we're recording, we are at 301, so I'm almost there. But some of the things that come to mind is definitely when you talk about the ConvertKit stuff, building an email list, bringing on Amy Porterfield, that kind of stuff. When you bring on Chris Ducker and you've talked about the Superman syndrome. I mean, I suffered with Superman syndrome. So being able to realize that and you having Chris Ducker on your podcast and I saw myself or heard myself basically, when he talks about how much work he was taking on and you kind of get paralyzed by all the other things that are out there. And it doesn't allow you to focus on what you want to do. So being able to take that has really allowed me to kind of springboard a little bit on what I want to do. Your Power Up, the BYOB, the Build Your Own Brand coursing that you've done. That, I mean, I've been in WordPress for years, but you can always learn more. So the ability to sit down for 5 courses or 5 days and go through your course on that one has certainly saved me a lot of time as well, because every time you start a new website, a new project, you really start from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I took basically everything you went through on the BYOB and I copied that to my podcast website, right down to the theme. And that kind of stuff helps awesome. Tremendously. Yeah. So if anybody hasn't signed up for the BYOB class, I strongly recommend taking that.
Thank you. And it's free. By the way, smartpassiveincome.com/BYOB. And you're also a student in the Power Up Podcasting course, which is really where I met you. Obviously, I hadn't really gotten to know you until just quite recently through you being a student in that course. And it was because you were, very active in the Facebook Student Center community that we have, where all the students are in there and they're talking, they're encouraging each other. And thank you, Phil, by the way, for being there not just to ask questions, which are helpful for everybody else, but also to support the others that are in there too. That's what I think is really great about that community. But more than that, you were, I think, one of the people who was the quickest to get your show up after taking the course. I don't know how long ago you bought it, but the moment I saw you start working on it, I just all of a sudden saw that you had this, your artwork was out and your podcast was up. Like, how were you able to get that done so quickly?
Well, the truth behind it was, I don't remember when you had the enrollment on it, but I think I started in October. Mm-hmm. So I didn't launch really until January. So it was really 2 months of going through your course material, and learning it.
Oh, okay.
And
so
it wasn't until I set it. Didn't happen. Like nothing happens overnight. I mean, it's one of the things you teach, right? And it wasn't until I really set a date. And I set my date in October. Once it started getting really close, and once December hit, I'm like, I have to start moving on this now. I have to just clear everything off on my plate and go for this. And I always felt like it's just me. My personality is I always feel like I'm late to everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why it felt like from where you were, like things were moving quick. Even though they were moving quick, I guess you could say, I was always like, gotta get this, gotta get this, gotta get this, gotta get this. But I think having the Power Up Podcasting class, I knew what I needed, right? If I didn't have your course, I would be probably still trying to figure out what the next thing was that I needed. There's a lot involved when it comes to setting up a podcast. It's not as simple as buying a microphone. I mean, it could be as simple as buying a microphone and putting a podcast out there, but there's a lot of other stuff that makes a great podcast. And that's what the Power Up Podcasting course, supports doing, is making something great.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I don't want to have people think that this is just a pitch for my courses and stuff, although I do recommend you take them, and I wouldn't have created them if they weren't helpful. But, with your podcast specifically, so a lot of people might be wondering, a podcast about scanner radios, like how many people would actually listen to that? But now that your podcast is up, although you have just started and the numbers are relatively small, you are getting some listens, right?
I am getting some listens, and it's really strange too, because I got a Facebook chat yesterday from somebody, and he says, "Oh, great review. I love listening to your podcast. I just listened to session 5, which is the one I just released this week. So that's how new really I am." Mm-hmm. And he goes, "I'm in Australia, listen to you on the train." And I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. I really don't have a lot of downloads. I mean, if you want me to spill the little numbers I have, I'll let you know. But
no, I think let's be real with people. And I think, this will just show that, yes, you're just getting started. No crazy results don't happen right away. So if you wanted to share those numbers, go right ahead. Yeah,
I'm 5 sessions in, and I didn't look at Libsyn today. I'm not the kind of person that sits there and watches these things like a hawk. But I have 5 sessions in. I have less than 1,000 total downloads for 5 sessions. So session 5 was about 100 downloads total.
Dude, that's still legit,
it's really
though.
Small numbers.
No, but seriously, imagine, even with that session alone, imagine 100 people in a room. This is, I talk about this in the course. Imagine 100 people in a room. And here you go, getting a person who's on the other side of the world, taking the time to find you, to reach out to you and give you this message. I mean, that must feel amazing.
It's really mind-boggling to think that, and this person is doing exactly what I'm doing when I listen to your podcast, right? I mean, I'm on my way to work, and I have a podcast on in the car, because really podcasting is, I think, the way that people are going to go forward with learning, and it's just a natural progression of the internet, right? Mm-hmm. Even though podcasting's been out for how many years, I just discovered it, so it's really new to me. I just got into podcasting in 2017, really figured it out as far as a listener goes. So I think it's a better medium to get information. I mean, you can read a blog post, and I know, Pat, you run a great blog, but truthfully, I visited SPI a few times before I discovered really the podcast. And once I discovered the podcast, I was hooked. Mm-hmm. And that's how I get all the information that you have, is through your podcast. I'm not really a blog reader. So I think there's a lot more power in podcasting at this point than maybe, reading something on a computer screen.
No, you're you're 100% right.
My point of view.
And I've even seen it in my analytics. Like, even though my business is growing, the revenue is up, the products are selling, the traffic specifically on the website has been down. And that's because a lot of the activity, a lot of the communication, a lot of the engagement happens elsewhere, be it email, be it via the podcast or social media, Facebook groups, etc. And the interesting thing that I have been trying to kind of just wrap my head around is, how can I become part of a person's habit? Or how can I become a habit for people? Meaning, back in the day, it was very easy with a website to do that because there wasn't all these other mediums, or there were, but it was just not anything that, most people could get access to in a very easy way, especially like podcasting and such. But with things like, text back then, people would have these feed readers where they could subscribe via RSS to your website, and they would develop a habit every single day going into their feed reader, trying to see, okay, well, who wrote what and what is interesting to me? And that's how people consumed content back then. And now, with all this noise that's out there, the website stuff is not performing as well in terms of, traffic and time on site. But what is performing well is the engagement through these other platforms. Still, the website is important, which is why I developed BYOB at the end of last year, because it's still important to have that hub and that home where you bring people back to and they subscribe to the email list. But, the habits are, like you were just saying, a person on the way to work every single day listening to you, hopefully. Or I know that I'm personally developing a habit of YouTube, where every night after the kids are down, I take a few minutes and I just go to YouTube to see what the top trending videos are in the niches that I'm interested in. And I try not to go down a rabbit hole, but it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole. So why not be a part of another person's rabbit hole and give them something of value in that way? So that thinking about your audience and how they might develop a habit with you, or consuming you as a part of habits that they have every day, I think that's really, really powerful, which is why I'm encouraged that you kind of poked your head a little bit into the podcasting space. And now it seems, man, when you were telling me even before the recording here, you were like, I have small numbers. I don't know if I want to share it because it's a little embarrassing. And I'm like, dude, 1,000 listens after 5 episodes in a very niche space, that's huge. Because now what's going to happen, and this is what I'm predicting, Phil, is if you keep moving forward with this, we'll talk about that in just a minute, you're going to become known in the industry. You're going to become a powerhouse. You're going to have the authority to then make bigger decisions, bolder actions to, make some noise in this space. So that's really exciting. How does that all sit with you when I say that?
That's actually what I'm hoping would happen, to be honest with you. I have ideas. I know the podcasting thing. I know the numbers are small now, but I'm in a very intro part of the topic, and it's the dry stuff. And part of what's great too about, not to go back to the pub course, but you have your office hours. And I had asked you a question this past Friday about how I can bring more energy to the podcast so it's not so dry and it's not so boring, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And I did take your feedback and I made a quick modification to this session's podcast. So
can you share with everybody what my advice was?
Your advice, first of all, was get off the script. So I did that. I just did a couple bullet points, what I wanted to talk about.
Good.
And what I also did too was you had said put some background music or something like that when it gets to something that's really technical. I kind of spun that a little bit, and I took audio samples of what I was giving an example for. So when I was talking about a certain part of the topic, I put an audio bite in there to let people listen to hear how that sounds. And the other thing I did was I broke out the segments with the Morse code key, the letter K. So it kind of, it breaks up the vocal, I guess you could say, so that somebody knows that something's coming up that they might want to perk up for and listen to.
Dude, I love it. You're like teaching the stuff that I teach now. This is great.
Yeah, well, I take everything that you teach and I put it to action. So,
no, I appreciate that. Now, are there moments where you see somebody doing something, or anybody else teaches you to, go take a certain action? Are there at any point voices in your head that just tell you, well, this is difficult, or, I don't know if I should do that, or, does that fear ever come to try and stop you?
Of course it does. I mean, it's the big fear right now to me, because I work a 9-to-5 job, and it's like, and I have a 4-year-old, and it's like, how do I have time to do this? I watch the calendar, and it's Sunday afternoon, and I have a podcast coming out on Tuesday, and it's like, I got to sit down and do this. That's the fear of missing a deadline is there, but it's what keeps you going. I know that I have information to share, and that's the goal. And I know at this point I do have small numbers, but I do have people who are looking forward to the next session. I have people giving me feedback, because I have, Pat, I used your open-ended questions idea for ConvertKit. So I use that as part of my onboarding session, and people are giving me their feedback. So I have 60 plus episodes or sessions ready to go in the hopper. So I know I have content out there, but it's nervous just getting started, just turning that microphone on for the first time and hitting record. I mean,
it's scary.
You tell a story how you've recorded your first session two or three times. Yeah, I did twice, but you just kind of you got to do it. I mean, that's all there is to it. Just pile through it, get through the nerves, and you can always look back at it and go, yeah, that was embarrassing, but at least you did it, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I actually have a friend sent me this kind of like wooden frame thing where you can like put different plastic letters on the little black board here, and you can change them up whenever you want. I have one. It just literally says start. Because starting is the hardest thing. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. So let's get out of that and start just moving, no matter how small it is. That's how you gain that momentum. Now, you had mentioned that you have a family and you have a 9-to-5 job. How are you able to even fit this hobby / now turning into more than a hobby inside of all that?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. I do a lot of squeezing in of time. That's my biggest problem right now. So I'm kind of becoming a student of the 5 a.m. miracle again. Thanks to you. I think he was a guest on your podcast earlier. Yep. And I picked up a Pavlok, thanks again to you, because you had Manish Sethi on. So I'm kind of using that to train myself to at least make sure I get up and follow time as a schedule, because it's very hard to draw the boundaries. Right. You come home from work and you go straight downstairs and you work on something, you come up for dinner and you go back downstairs again. And then before you know it, the night's over and you didn't really have any personal time. So it is a struggle right now for that. And again, that's part of the word that you just talked about is how, I know where I want to go with this. I know I can teach so much via podcast, but I want to get into the teachable platform, and I want to do the videos, and I want to do, somebody unboxes a new radio and how to set it up, because I get the same questions asked and I see them on Facebook groups and, how do you do this? How do you do that? I know how to do it because I've taught it 1,000 times, but I need to find the time to sit down in front of a camera and teach this, visually to people as well. Mm-hmm. So that, finding the time is, you're right. It's tough, and it's something that I'm working on right now to try and figure out for myself the best way to squeeze this all in. I mean, there's been people who do it from their car during their lunch break. I've seen somebody posted it on the Facebook group. They took an interview at noon in their car, I think while at an airport or something like that. Yeah. To get their podcast going. So you find the time. It's just it's a lot of passion. It's passion driven.
Yeah, absolutely. It's passion driven, and it's understanding what your priorities are. Because I know a lot of us, we don't even know a lot of where our time goes every single day. And a lot of the people I coach and speak to, we can find time. When I ask people to literally outline every hour of their day, and then they give that to me, I go, well, why does this take an hour when it's something that could be a half hour? Or why are you devoting time here when this doesn't align with where you want to go? Now, I obviously understand the importance of having that 9-to-5 job, and I never tell people, despite losing my 9-to-5 job being the start of all this for me, I never tell people to just quit their job. That's not the answer. The answer is understanding what your priorities are, efficiency, optimization and just taking one step at a time. And really every single day, just chipping away, that adds up. But you know what also adds up is not doing stuff and having that weigh in on your brain and just kind of having you feel like you're falling behind. So as long as you're making progress, that's great. And I'm just so encouraged to hear that you are doing the same, Phil, despite still being a dad and being there at home with the family and providing through your 9-to-5 job. So would the ultimate goal be to actually build this business to a point where you would potentially remove yourself from that 9-to-5 job? Or like what are your goals with all this?
My goal right now is I'm small, right? If this were to pay for just my daughter's tuition so she can go to school, I mean, as a start, that would be great. But in the end, yeah, if it brought in enough for me to quit my job, I would love to do this full time. This would be great. I mean, and people do it. It's not unheard of. I mean, look at Cliff Ravenscraft, right? He does his consulting gig, right? That's his new 9-to-5 with the podcasting. And I would love to get into the consulting, the one-on-one. If somebody had a question, instead of going to a video or a podcast, to rent me out for an hour, I guess is the way to, and do consulting calls. I mean, that'd be great, because then, you do something you have a passion for, you do something you love, and you'd be able to help people. And that's the greatest thing,
Love that. I have some thoughts, if you don't mind me sharing, about how you can perhaps increase the speed of success in this space, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I got a pen and paper. Let's go.
Okay. And this will be recorded, obviously, and people are listening to it. But, one cool thing about, I've been studying YouTube a lot, especially, but just different industries in general to try and see, well, what makes a business or certain niches do better than others. And what's really interesting about your niche is it's very niche, but it's also in that realm of technology and electronics. And that gives you a lot of great opportunities, because there's a lot of companies out there that are continually innovating. They're continually coming out with new products, right? So the thing is, like, you're never going to run out of content, right? And like you said, you're even getting direct feedback from your target audience about the things that they want to learn about too, which is fantastic. You're setting yourself up quite well there. But related to these companies, what's really cool about these businesses and personalities that have a little bit of authority in their spaces, they have also relationships with these companies. And the fact that you have a podcast allows you for a medium to start to build relationships with those people, the CEOs of those scanner radio component companies or the radio companies or whatever, right? So you have now a platform where you can invite those people on to share about their new toy or their new direction or some changes that they were made, which is A, going to be really useful for your audience. B, through association with you being the one interviewing or highlighting those things, it's going to put you in a more authoritative state as well. And C, it can help you with the sale of any of those things, which is a win for those companies as well. When they start to see some volume coming from you, they're going to start to work with you and want to work with you more. You might, and I can envision this happening if you get pretty strategic with this. If, say, for example, Phil, you do one interview a month with somebody who is from another company and feature kind of, you become the place where people go to find out this information directly from the voices of those companies, essentially. But then this will help with affiliate sales or your wholesale stuff or any sort of distribution or drop shipping that you do related to these things. I can also imagine a lot of these companies literally sending you prototypes or new versions of things as they come out, which gives you an interesting opportunity. I've been following a lot of YouTubers specifically who get access to things before they come out. And I'm like, how do they do this? Why does this happen? What is the benefit for them? And I think it's pretty obvious. So it would be really cool for you to, for example, get your hands in on something early and be able to talk about it on the podcast. But more than that, I like what you said a little bit later about doing YouTube videos and stuff. And that doesn't have to be very difficult either. I know there are different ranges of how far you can go with that. You can go super big production style like the people do at Unbox Therapy, which is like a full-on production. But there's a lot of successful YouTubers doing the same thing with literally just a point-and-shoot camera that's pointed down at their hands and just using the microphone on that camera to just open up something that they got from one of these companies, talk about it, and because you have this expertise, you have this knowledge, and you speak the language, I mean, man, these companies are going to send these to you for free, Some of them will require you to, send it back, and that's kind of cool too, because, at least you got access to it. But some will let you keep those things as well. But either way, you're still going to be able to further push your authority and expertise in this space. And what's really cool is you're going to position yourself as the go-to person. I mean, you're on your way, Phil.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. In fact, part of my 60 episodes is to get some of those manufacturers actually on the podcast. So I was kind of waiting until I had a little bit more traction underneath, maybe 10 episodes or so. So I can see.
You have 1,000 downloads already. That's traction.
Okay. All right. So I'll get those emails out today then.
Okay.
Why wait, right?
Send 3 emails out and then come back to me.
Yeah.
And I'll check with you in the morning and we can see how that goes. But another thing with reaching out to companies like that, you're going to have some advantage because you have this podcast, you have 1,000 downloads, you're just getting started. I think that's still very impressive, the numbers. You always say it's low, but I think it's actually quite high. And secondly, if they don't reply right away, wait a couple days and follow up. The fortune is in the follow-up. And so make sure you keep track. Maybe you create a spreadsheet of all the manufacturers that are out there. You can easily find probably some that you probably know most of them, but you could probably find even more on Google and find their contact info. Just go to their contact form or the bottom of their website. There's usually a phone number or some sort of address, and then you can plug that into Google and potentially find a phone number through like a Yellow Pages type thing. There's a lot of things you can do to find the right people. You just got to, again, like you said, put in the time. So what is the most important next thing to do? That's just whenever you have that extra time, that's what you do next. So, man, I'm excited for you, Phil.
And I did the spreadsheet method too. I went on like part of the training that you give with the pup is I made the spreadsheet and I went on the Facebook groups because there's a bunch of groups that are scanner related. I just hit all the admins. When did I contact them? When did they reply? When did I publish on there? Just get permission to I didn't want to spam the groups, but at least get them and start forming a relationship with those people so that I can maybe get them onto the podcast because, like you say, that then they would say, hey, I'm on this podcast, and they would share it with their group and their tribe and, get the numbers up that way. So, and I tried 2 days ago to get on one, like the biggest website there was, and I put a message out there that had to go through administrative review. Mm-hmm. So I think they shot me down there, which is really like it stinks, but it was kind of expected. So, you just got to keep going through and keep my fingers crossed. Maybe they'll eventually publish my post, and if not, then I already went last night to the European version, and because again, you got to think global. Podcasting's not local; it's a global medium. So. When I hate to say it, right? When one door opens, another one closes. One opens, that kind of thing. Yeah. So there's other ways out there to get known, I guess is what you could say it. So, but yeah, there's really only 2 manufacturers, which is great as far as where I'm at. There's two main players in the field. So anybody who's listening to my podcast is either going to buy from company A or company B. So I'm kind of hoping to use that leverage too to kind of like to get not only to get them on, but to want to have them put product in my hand so that I can talk about it and do reviews and that kind of stuff with the product.
That's cool. Yeah, so. It'll happen. One final tip. This has been great, Phil. Thank you for opening up and being honest with us and sharing your thoughts and your plans. I think it's really cool, and it'll be awesome for people to kind of follow along. And we'll probably have you on. And one thing I'd love to do in future episodes of the podcast is bring, even in just one episode, bring a number of people back for a short time period just to kind of give an update, just kind of like what they do on the show Shark Tank, how they, give updates on certain winning companies from prior episodes. I think we'll come back. So Phil, keep reminding me maybe in the next few months to check in with you so I can see your progress. But the last piece of advice I want to offer you is in these very small niches, very hobby-based kinds of things, another great place to go to find people to either interview or at least get on their radar is magazines. So editors and writers of certain magazines, I don't know if there are Scanner Radio type publications out there, whether they're digital or physical. Find the authors and get to know them, interview them, get on their radar. Likely they don't have very many offerings for audio that they could share with their audiences, and they all, of course, have followers on Facebook and Twitter as well. That's a great avenue to find growth as well.
Yep. I'm there's One Main Magazine, so I'm kind of following their the columnists on Twitter and kind of going back and forth with them. So trying to establish the relationship now with that to hit that avenue. So, and also the side hobbies that kind of tie into it, like the prepping and the amateur radio and that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to build those relationships now. So when the time comes for me to ask them to come on to the podcast, or even vice versa, there's another podcast out there that does the prepping stuff. They're booked out. They're not taking guests. But if I keep following and engaging with them on Twitter and on their forums, then when they open up, then maybe I can get a foot in the door to get onto their podcast. So
yeah, a no is just a no, not yet.
Exactly.
Cool, man. Hey, Phil.
So
dude, this is any final words of advice or just thoughts before we finish up here?
Yeah. Do you mind if I take something I learned last night from your ConvertKit thing and put it forward and do a little quick giveaway for you guys?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. So part of, again, what you talked about last night, I'll set up an email of the top of the 5 things that you should know before buying your first or your next scanner radio. So it'll be a quick little bullet point of 5 things to look out for. And you can grab that at scannerschool.com/SPI. And I guess the name of the podcast that I have is Scanner School. So that's the website for it.
And is it scannerschool.com is the URL?
Scannerschool.com, yeah. So the top 5 things to know will be at scannerschool.com/SPI.
Cool, I love it. So, hey guys, a little context. Last night, myself and the webinar producer from ConvertKit, which is the email service provider that I use, I'm an advisor for, we were in my studio together doing a webinar to teach people how to grow their email list. And Phil was taking the lessons. He was watching live. And one of the big things we dove into last night was creating a great opt-in or lead magnet to incentivize people to go on your email list, to get on your email list. So it's really cool to see Phil literally like putting this into place right now. And I'm guessing that between the, 12 hours ago that happened, you haven't created that yet, but it is something you're going to create, right?
I'm hoping by the time that this podcast goes live, yeah, it'll be there. Okay. Maybe the day before, but it'll be there.
Well, you have some time, and that's great because that's a lead magnet that you can also share with your audience to grow your email list too outside of the SPI.
Exactly.
People. So very cool. Scannerschool.com/SPI. Phil, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being an action taker and, of course, being a student of mine in several of my courses. I appreciate it. We'll check in with you soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Pat.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that chat and conversation with Phil Lichenberger. Hey, Phil, I know you're listening to the show. You're a fan, and just, first of all, congratulations on your success so far. Although small, this is where it starts, right? And I think a lot of people are just going to be encouraged by you taking action on something that where on the surface, this is like, well, this is a really small niche. How many people can there be? Well, like you said, there's conventions and things that happen, which means there's an audience there. And because you're the one that's taking action, because you're the one that is now building an authority website on the topic, and you're making it fun and you're having fun at the same time, man, it's a recipe for success. So I'm looking forward to catching up with you again in the future so we can check in on you. And of course, I see you in the student centers all the time anyway, so I'll see you for sure. So, hey guys, check it out. Scannerschool.com if you want to check out more from Phil. And by the way, I know a lot of you are maybe at this point you're like, I'm convinced I want to start a podcast as well. If you do, you can check out my free 3-day how to start a podcast tutorial at howtostartapodcast.com. You can check that out from there. So guys, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We got a lot of great content coming your way, including next week's episode, which is about, I wish I had this up because that would have been smoother, but it's not, which is why I'm filling this space right now. Just kidding. Okay, number 12, we're talking with a guy named Casey Graham, a good friend of mine, who's going to help us recover payments. Like, seriously, this is something that since having my own courses, I didn't even realize was a problem. But his company and his tactics will solve the problem of failed payments, something where companies are losing thousands of dollars a month, some without even really knowing it. And Casey's going to give us some strategies on how to fix that. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And again, I look forward to serving you in next week's episode. Until then, keep crushing it, guys. Thank you. My name is Pat Flynn, here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Hey, fellow podcaster, does this sound like something you've experienced? You record your podcast episode on one platform, download the files, edit in another app, then fire up a different tool just to create these social clips? Well, it can be clunky, time-consuming, and frankly overwhelming, especially for creators trying to grow. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Riverside. Riverside is the all-in-one platform. Record, edit, and repurpose your podcast content all in one place. You just log in, record with your guests no matter where you are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video. We use Riverside here at SPI as well now. With built-in AI, I can automatically clean up my audio, saving myself so much editing time, and it can even auto-generate clips to make promoting the show a breeze. And with Magic Clips, I can grab the best moments and repurpose them as short-form video, perfect for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram, without re-recording a thing. So if you're tired of juggling tools and want a faster, simpler way to create and scale your content, it's time to try Riverside, built by creators for creators. Just go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. Look, I get it. You want to grow your business, but trying to sell to hundreds or even thousands of people gets very exhausting very fast. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? Score App helps you sell to more people without adding more to your plate. You build a quiz or assessment that your audience actually wants to take. Then they answer a few quick questions and get a personalized result right away. It shows them where they're at and what they need to do next and how you can help. And you build huge amounts of trust before you make even a single offer. No hard sell, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. All you have to do is just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI.